So I recently watched this YouTube video called A Cooked Computer Sciences Grad's Perspective. And this video honestly heartbroke me a little bit because I could clearly see this individual, Henny, who was just reaching out into the void for something to grab onto. Because I think a lot of people are experiencing this right now coming out of university. The job market is crazy, the world is crazy, and people feel like they've invested all of this time in a degree or some education and they're not seeing the results, and the market isn't reflecting that, and people are right to feel this way. They feel cheated, they feel like the system is unfair, and I think that they've been dealt a shorthand as well. And I'm here to provide a perspective for Henny or anyone else who maybe feels like right now they put in all of this time into something and they aren't exactly seeing the results, and it feels like the world is unfair. And it is unfair right now. And I'm also here to validate you a bit in that. But I wanted to provide my perspective on if you're feeling in this situation, how you can maybe start to navigate some of the next steps in terms of looking for a job, or how you can use this time wisely as you transition from coming out of college or university into this new world of looking for jobs and the general adult life. So, just to credentialize myself a bit, I graduated in 2022 from a computer engineering degree up in Canada. I'm in the workforce since October of that same year, working originally as a software developer and then transitioned into a solutioning role or a solution engineer role where I do demos for our clients and trying to sell them on our software services. And I'm sure some of you watching this video saying you graduated at the exact right time, and there's a lot of luck there. And to that, I say I absolutely agree. And I was not in the same position that you guys are. But one thing I will say is that being in the industry for a few years, I feel like maybe I can provide a unique perspective into how the market is, especially when it comes to software or tech. If you are not in one of those fields, then I think there are some transferable things that you can take here. So just wanted to provide that bit of background and just acknowledge that, yes, I was in a different position when I graduated, but I think that I can still maybe provide some tips on how you can approach applying for a job, especially in this job market. So, point number one is consistency is key. And if you've watched any of my videos before, this is something that it's probably one of my favorite tips that I like to give people. And I think that it literally applies across anything that you are trying to learn. When you go to school and you take a class and you slowly start to practice things, or even if you're learning like a musical instrument and you're putting in practice, that is the only way that you'll get better at doing something. And this applies also to job applications. So, for example, when you apply to specific roles, you need to be making sure that you are tailoring your resumes to that specific job. And with that comes a bit of learning that you need to apply. You need to learn how to make a proper resume. You need to learn exactly what the company that you're applying is looking for and be able to make changes to your resume based off of the nomenclature in there, as well as even making a cover letter that is not simply copy and paste, but is being tailored to that specific role. And if you're taking a bit of time each day to put in 1 to 3 meaningful applications instead of just sending out your resume on a mass scale, that will make a big difference for those specific companies, because a lot of these companies will actually have AI software that is scanning through your resume and matching those nomenclature. So choose a goal of how many applications you want to put in per day, say like 1 to 3, and then keep that consistent throughout the days. And these skills will compound, and you will learn things from doing new applications, what works, try something new. Eventually, you'll get in a rhythm of finding something that works for you. And I believe in this job market where everyone is just flooding with all of these generic resumes, this will actually set you apart above anyone else. And it might not work at first. You might need a little bit of practice, a little bit of tinkering, but I believe this would put you forth already above majority of the candidates. So point number 2 is to learn something while you are doing your job hunt. And one of the things that stood out to me in Henny's video was that he felt like he wasn't using his time properly, or that he was just applying for a lot of applications and then just sitting there and waiting for a response. And I actually think that this is a perfect time to learn other skills that can be transferable to the roles that you are looking for. And this can include, AI tools. I don't necessarily agree fully with AI, but I think that there are a lot of companies currently adopting it, and I think that it wouldn't be a big issue to learn some of these tools if you're willing to. Also, look into creating content or video editing, or even doing something that is passionate to you. And this is super transferable. Work on a project for something that you are passionate about. Like if you're passionate about video games, for example, maybe explore building a game. Or if you had this idea for a software product, and again, this is specific to software developers, then work on something that is meaningful to you. That's a project that you can even, eventually build that into an asset someday. And I don't think that this is a waste of time at all, because you're learning skills such as, what works for you, maybe even how to fail. Like if, for example, if you build up an asset to a certain point and then it doesn't work out, learning that skill of failure is actually goes a long way, especially when you bring that eventually into the workforce. So I think that if you're someone who is just mass applying and then just, waiting for something to happen, I think this would be a perfect use of time to explore other avenues. And then when you eventually do get a role or an interview, then this would be great transferable skills that you would be able to apply there that any employer would be looking for. So point number 3, and this might be kind of a broad point because I feel like I'm just might going on a bit of a tangent about, what I'm passionate about, but don't be afraid to sort of wane or stray off of the normal path of applying for a job outside of graduation. And I think anyone who feels like they're cooked right now could see the current job market and think, man, I'm just never going to find any work. There's too little jobs, and you are super valid for feeling that way. And you guys have been dealt a tough hand. And I do acknowledge that I'm in a position where I have gotten lucky, but I just want to tell you guys that the corporate world is not everything that it maybe looks to be on the outside when you're graduating college. There are a lot of problems here in the corporate system, and maybe you guys have heard about this, maybe you haven't, but there is a lot of hierarchy. I mean, this is company dependent, but if I were graduating and I had the knowledge that I have now working for the past few years, I would actually start to maybe explore unconventional ways of acquiring income. And I know it's easier said than done when you graduated and you're looking to pay your bills, but I think that there is a lot of opportunity right now in terms of working on smaller projects with your skill set for maybe clients that don't get as recognized by those bigger corporate companies. And maybe, seek out some local businesses that could use like a software, revitalization. And that's just, again, from a software perspective. I come from a software background, and that's just my unique perspective. But I feel like that there are opportunities even for like local businesses, like can your skill set apply to a local business, and even, taking an unconventional job and having that lead into something that could be a big opportunity for you. So needless to say, and just trying to wrap this point up a bit, don't feel like you're behind because you're comparing yourself to people in your same skills or in your same stream. And a lot of people like to post their wins and their successes, but do what works for you. Keep hope in this job market. And that sounds like, thanks, Unc. Like, thanks for that bit of wisdom or whatever, but it's true. Like, you will find something that works for you, and these times seem hard, but keep consistent, keep exploring your skill sets and what you're passionate about, and eventually these will compound and you will see success. All right, so there is my 3 tips, or just some tips on what I would do if I was feeling cooked coming out of college or university in today's job market. And again, um, I know that I've been lucky to where I graduated to where I am now, and people are in a very unique position with today's job market and the world as a whole. But I'd just like to say, instead of, scrolling your phone or maybe feeling hopeless, and it is super easy to feel that way, and I've been there, try to take some of that time back for yourself and invest in yourself and say, you know what? There are things that I can do that I'm passionate about, that I can leverage my skill set, and that can be transferable to jobs that I am applying for. And, feel free to be creative, to explore things you might have not explored before. And I think that if you, continue to compound your skills, then you will achieve what you are looking for. Thank you so much if you made it this far for watching. Please feel free to like, subscribe, or comment. And happy to keep making any of these videos. If there's anything you guys would like to see, please feel free to let me know. And I hope you guys all have a great day. Thanks.